What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and week 6 of the college football season is now over, and what a weekend it was. We saw some really good football games, much better than the previous week where it was, pretty boring. We saw upsets this week. We saw overtime games that came down to the wire. It was a great weekend of college football, and we've got a pretty big shakeup this week in the top 25, so let's get right to it. And we'll start now with the bottom teams. We got UCF in there at 21. They continue to win. USC, a pretty good win over Oregon State, as expected. I have Stanford now back into the top 25. They are really getting it together. I know they have 2 losses, but their 2 losses are to USC and San Diego State. And since then, they've really seemed like they have improved. So I like Stanford now. Texas Tech at 24. Just the 1 loss, so I think they're looking good. A close loss to Oklahoma State. Georgia Tech didn't play this weekend, so we're just going to keep them at number 25. There are some other teams, though, that are starting to keep an eye on here, and we'll get to those in just a minute. But let's continue now on with our next set of teams, 16 through 20. NC State over to Louisville. I called for that upset, and it happened. That was a pretty impressive performance. This team is really good, and they get Clemson at home. A chance to, if they win that game, they could get to the ACC championship, maybe even the playoffs. San Diego State moving up. They continue to win. That win over Stanford now looks really good for them. Michigan State, they are skyrocketing into my top 25 at 18. Just 1 loss to Notre Dame. They beat Michigan. Michigan right behind them at 19. Tough loss for them. And South Florida stays there at number 20. They did not play this weekend. Yeah, that Michigan State game was good. We'll have our recap coming up later today. We'll talk about all the games, so make sure you watch for that video. Oklahoma drops a pretty good bit, down to 11. I still think this is a really good team. I think they overlooked Iowa State or something. I don't know. Iowa State just wanted that game a lot more than them. Washington State, good win over Oregon. Virginia Tech over Boston College. Oklahoma State continues to play well. Notre Dame, they are starting to, Notre Dame is starting to look like a potential playoff contender. The schedule is not too bad for them. They do have some tough games, but I think they're games that are very possibly, winnable games for them. We'll have to keep an eye on the Fighting Irish. 6 through 10, Washington continues to win. They still haven't really played anybody, though, so I'm a little hesitant to even put them that high. Ohio State and Auburn, I think the 2 best teams with 1 loss. I think they have the best chance of getting to the playoffs out of all the teams that already have a loss. Wisconsin at number 9. Pretty easy schedule, I'm telling you. Wisconsin may very well be undefeated heading into the Big Ten championship game. Miami at number 10. Close win over Florida State. They didn't look great in that game, but still it was a good win for them. A little hesitant to put them all the way up at number 10. I think we need to see more from them, but based on the other teams, I think that's where I'm going to put them. Clemson continues to win. A pretty good Wake Forest team. They beat them fairly easily. Alabama actually looked, beatable this weekend. And again, we're going to talk about all the games on our recap coming up later on today. Penn State at number 3. A little bit of a slow start, but they take care of business. Georgia dominant against Vanderbilt. TCU, big win over West Virginia. And you're looking at their schedule. If they can get by Oklahoma, watch out for the Horned Frogs. Also have Texas, who has been looking better as well. All right, here are the teams that dropped out. And it was really close for me on this first team, Louisville. I almost kept them in there because both their losses were to really good teams. But they weren't really all that close in either game. So for now, we're going to keep Louisville. They're probably like number 26. They are right on the edge. They could definitely get back in there. Florida it's not good for the Gators. They are dropping out. And Utah loses to Stanford. They drop out as well. So 3 teams out, 3 teams in. And how about the teams that I'm keeping an eye on that I think are just right on that edge, potentially top 25 teams, and might be there before the season is over. And some of these already have 2 losses, but we got Utah, tough loss to Stanford. Texas, they are much improved. They're looking a lot better. West Virginia, 2 losses, but to 2 really good teams. Iowa, 2 losses to really good teams. Texas A&M, even though they lost to Alabama, they played really well in that game. They look like one of the better teams in the SEC right now. So we're going to keep an eye on them as well. So this is my top 25. Go ahead and leave a comment down below with what you agree with or disagree with. And again, later today we'll have our recap of Week 6. We'll talk about all the games, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel.